Big lie number 1. I must meet certain standards to feel good about myself. Big lie number 2. I must be approved and accepted by certain people in my life to feel good about myself. Big lie number 3. Those who fail, including me, are unworthy of love and deserve to be punished. Big lie number 4. I am what I am, I cannot change, I am hopeless.
I think if I'm honest with myself, I would have to admit to believing each of the 4 lies to some extent, but the one that I feel I believe the most is big lie number 1, in which I have to meet certain standards to feel good about myself. I really think I believe in this lie the most because I always find myself playing the comparison game, so trying to measure myself up against other people if they look better than me, if they do better on a test or in a class, or if they get recognized for something, or I always find myself trying to measure myself up against them. And in the comparison game, there's no win. Like, it's always losing. It's either you look at yourself as less of a person, or if you look at yourself as more of a person, you're just a jerk. But no, big lie number 1 has definitely been a struggle. And especially just my senior year, it's been like hard on relationships that I've had by like having a competitive nature in relationships, and it's built up this fear of failure within me. So like I find myself like not being bold or not trying new things or pushing past my comfort zones because I'm scared that it won't work out or I won't have as good of an experience or a victory that someone else had.
I would definitely say that the lie that I believe in the most is big lie number 2, which is I must be approved and accepted by certain people in my life to feel good about myself. And I think that lie really stems from a strong need for approval from my parents. Throughout my life, I've always been like a good student and fairly well liked by people, and that has kind of set a weird precedent in my mind to make sure that that keeps happening, and that I need to impress people, and that I need to stay in the loop with everything that's happening, or else that people don't like me as much, or I'm not as worthy as them. And I think that that's because my past of being very insecure about myself and, you know, having a stage where maybe I was a little bit alone.
My lie is the 3rd lie, believing that those who fail, including me, are unworthy of love and deserve to be punished. I think this lie applies to me because I can be really judgmental sometimes, and like if my values don't match up with somebody else's or my opinions don't match up with them, I'll mark that as a failure. But I'm also really hard on myself because of that, because I try to live up to those standards so that I don't fail. And it kind of connects to like perfectionism and wanting to succeed in as much as I can. And I think that weighs on my patience with people, and I think that that's one of the 8 essentials that I try to work on the most because of that. Just because if I fail or somebody else around me fails, and it bothers me a lot, and so then my patience gets really short and I'll be really snappy to people and I'll come off really judgmental, when really it's just me and it's my issue with myself and my insecurity. And so I think that this lie is a really common one for people, but definitely for me, just because that's something that I want to work on the most.
My name's Adia, and I am big lie number 4, and that is I am what I am, I cannot change, I am hopeless. Throughout high school, I've gone through a lot of different character changes where I am this, I'm that, and this year I have just been so ashamed of who I was. I finally realized that all those people that I wasn't me, and so I didn't want to be here anymore. And I decided that I should just get away from everyone, because everywhere I went I constantly felt judged on who I was, and I felt like that identity was just dragging me down, and I was not able, no matter how hard I tried to get away from it. Everyone would constantly remind me of who I was, and So I decided to get away from the school at the beginning of the year, and I decided to do Running Start and get away from everyone where no one knew where I was. No one knew, and I was like basically marked off the map. And I deleted my Facebook. I made it so it was like virtually impossible to reach me. And as I just got lonely, and I just realized that I needed to come back, and I like through that time I just totally withdrew from everyone, and because I didn't feel worthy of change, I didn't feel worthy of any friendships, and I don't know. Coming back here as like being around people who just want to serve, and people who are just constantly they're not judgmental. Getting into this class like has helped me so much. I can feel a change in my heart. Like there's just a passion that like burns anytime like I can serve someone, and even though others don't recognize it, I feel it every day, and it's awesome. And I can't believe I'm crying over this. This is embarrassing, but I know that I really am not tied down to this, and I shouldn't feel so hopeless. It's not the truth.
So a comparison game is when you look at the way you serve and you look at the way other people serve. And so you could look at someone who's doing a really good job and say, oh, I'm not as good as them, and then look at someone who isn't doing anything and say, well, at least I'm better than them. But when you play that game with yourself, you don't win. You can't win, because you should really just be focusing on you and how you serve, because that's what's important in the end.